Usually when we ask for something in life, we expect a pretty straightforward transaction. It's very much like putting a crisp dollar bill into a vending machine.
Right, yeah.
You make your selection, you press the button, and, well, you expect the exact snap you wanted to just drop down immediately.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's a very linear, predictable expectation. Cause and effect, action, and an immediate, highly visible reaction. I mean, we are so conditioned by modern life to expect that if we put the input in, the output should just pop out, right on schedule.
Yeah, but then you step into the realm of faith, specifically the concept of making a sincere supplication or prayer, and suddenly that vending machine logic completely falls apart.
Oh, it shatters.
Right. You raise your hands, you pour out the deepest, most vulnerable parts of your heart, you lay all your hopes and fears out there, and then you wait. And often you look around and absolutely nothing has changed. I mean, the job you desperately need is still gone.
Yeah.
That fractured relationship is still a mess. The bank account is still hovering around zero.
It is the ultimate test of endurance, really. And it is exactly where so many people feel this profound, crushing sense of frustration. Because when the silence stretches on, human psychology kicks in.
We panic.
We absolutely panic. We start wondering if our voice is just vanishing into the void, or, worse, if we are actively being ignored by the universe.
Which brings us directly to today's mission.
Yeah.
For you, the listener, if you've ever felt that agonizing silence and wondered what it actually means, well, today we are taking a deep dive into the profound, often deeply misunderstood journey of how a dua is actually answered.
It's such an important topic.
It really is. We're going to decode the subtle divine signals that indicate a response is already in motion. We're moving way past this superficial idea of sudden magical fixes and exploring the deep internal and external transformations that truly signal a prayer is being answered.
Precisely. And to guide us through this, we are looking at a deeply moving collection of transcripts from lectures by Mufti Menk. He is a prominent, globally recognized Islamic scholar, and these insights, which we sourced from the channels Iman Revival, Menk Reflections, and Inspire with Iman, they paint a picture that completely challenges our modern conditioning.
Yeah, because we are totally wired for instant gratification.
Yeah, we really are. But Menk's lectures reveal that divine answers operate on a totally different axis, one of perfect wisdom, perfect timing, and ultimately, perfect love. And that usually means a period of intense, profound preparation before the visible blessing ever materializes in your life.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the very first thing that happens on this journey is incredibly counterintuitive.
Yeah.
A lot of us think the initial sign of an answered prayer is that our external circumstances shift.
Right, the environment changes.
Exactly. We look for a new email, a phone call, maybe a sudden change in luck. But the lectures highlight that if you're looking outside, you're looking in the wrong place entirely. The first real movement is an internal shift.
Yes. The earliest indicator is often a sudden, almost illogical calmness.
And it really makes no sense on paper. I mean, the chaos is still raging around you. The bills are still piling up. The medical test results are still pending. But Menk describes this sudden, profound tranquility that just settles deep inside your chest. In one of the transcripts, it's beautifully described as a spiritual oxygen tank for a suffocating soul.
That is such a vivid way to phrase it. And there is a deep psychological truth to it, too, because when anxiety overwhelms the human heart, even the simplest, most mundane tasks feel entirely impossible.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't think straight. You can't decide what to eat for breakfast, let alone how to navigate a major life crisis. So before the situation itself is resolved, the Creator places this strange, steadying peace inside you.
Like a quiet reassurance.
Right. It functions as a whisper, saying, I am with you. And what's crucial to understand here is that this peace isn't just a nice feeling, it is highly functional. It allows you to actually operate again. You regain the ability to make clear, rational decisions despite the storm that is still swirling around you.
It's like putting on a pair of high-end, noise-canceling headphones in the middle of a chaotic construction site.
I like that.
The jackhammers haven't stopped. The dust is still flying everywhere. The heavy machinery is still moving. The chaos hasn't actually gone anywhere, but it suddenly loses its power to hurt your ears. You can finally hear yourself think.
Precisely. You insulate the internal environment so you can survive the external one. And this internal shift doesn't just stop at a fleeting feeling of calmness. It evolves into a highly noticeable improvement in your character.
Right, which Menk refers to as purification before elevation.
Yes.
You start noticing that things that used to drag you down don't have the same grip on you. You're letting go of harmful habits more easily. Acts of worship, like follow the mandatory daily Islamic prayers or reading the Quran, suddenly shift.
They feel different.
They do. They stop feeling like heavy, guilt-driven obligations and start feeling like a genuine source of comfort. You find yourself becoming more patient, maybe a little softer and more forgiving with the people around you.
You start actively choosing kindness in moments when anger would be the much easier default reaction. You let go of arguments when holding on would just feed your ego. And this character development isn't a random byproduct. It is an active, highly intentional preparation.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
Because if you're in the middle of a brutal crisis or you're begging for a breakthrough, you might be listening to this thinking, look, I appreciate the character growth. I really do. It's great that I'm a nicer person, but I really just need the rent money by Friday.
Right.
Or I really just need this chronic illness to be cured. Why is this internal shift an absolute prerequisite? Why can't we just get the blessing we are begging for while we're still a bit of a mess?
What's fascinating here is that the lectures are very explicit about the danger of a premature blessing. A blessing placed in the wrong heart actually becomes a massive burden.
Wow. Okay, break that down for me. How does a blessing become a burden?
Well, think about the psychology of sudden wealth, for example. We all read stories about lottery winners whose lives are completely destroyed within a few years of winning.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time.
Right. If you pray for immense financial success, but your heart is still deeply rooted in arrogance, materialism, or insecurity, that wealth won't solve your problems. It will magnify them.
It's like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Exactly. It will ultimately destroy your character and likely your relationships. Or say you pray for a loving, committed relationship, but you haven't been purified of toxic emotional patterns. Maybe you are highly defensive or possessive. You will inevitably sabotage that very love when it finally arrives.
That makes a lot of sense.
A hardened, unrefined heart simply cannot fully appreciate or sustain a blessing. If the gift arrives while your heart is still chained to pride or harmful habits, it will be misused or quickly lost.
So the internal shift is protective.
Very much so. This internal refinement ensures your hands are steady enough to hold the gift with humility and gratitude rather than dropping it or letting it crush you.
That completely flips the script on how we view the waiting period. You literally have to become the person who is capable of surviving your own answered prayer.
Exactly. The transformation of who you are is the foundation of the answered duha. The blessing is just the final piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so the heart gets fortified, the noise-canceling headphones are on, you're breathing a little easier, and your character is leveling up.
Yeah.
Now, moving forward, you'd logically think the path just magically opens up, right? You've done the internal work, so the universe should roll out the red carpet.
Well, this is where the journey often becomes the most painful and confusing for people.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because once the internal world is ready, the physical path has to be completely cleared of debris.
And clearing the physical path usually means closed doors. Lots of them.
Yeah.
Slammed right in your face.
It does.
The transcripts go deep into this phase. The path you were forcing begins to close entirely, and you literally feel pushed away from what you thought you wanted.
And it can feel like a massive betrayal by the universe. Let's say you've been putting all your passion, all your networking, all your late nights into a specific job promotion,
Right.
or maybe a specific relationship you thought was the one, or a 5-year business plan you've meticulously crafted, and suddenly it just collapses.
Poof, gone.
Agreements fall apart at the last minute.
Yeah.
Key people walk away without explanation. The entire process just shuts down, and no amount of effort on your part can restart it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The lectures emphasize a massive, almost jarring shift in perspective you have to adopt in these moments. A closed door is not a rejection. It is a redirection.
Yes, it is divine protection disguised as sheer disappointment. We have a fatal tendency as humans to cling to familiar things even when they are slowly killing us.
We do.
We cling to toxic workplace routines, draining friendships, and dead-end roles simply because they are familiar. We know the script, and we constantly mistake familiarity for safety.
It reminds me of a parent taking a sharp, shiny object away from a toddler.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Imagine a toddler who has managed to grab a massive, incredibly sharp kitchen knife.
Yeah.
The knife is shiny, it catches the light, the toddler loves it. The parent lunges in and snatches it away.
And the toddler screams.
The toddler is screaming, crying, feeling completely betrayed and heartbroken, thinking, why would you take my favorite new toy? You're so cruel. But the parent isn't punishing the child. The parent is simply protecting them from bleeding to death. The toddler just doesn't have the cognitive perspective to see the razor-sharp edges.
That is a perfect analogy. The lectures state that Allah knows the hidden traps and long-term consequences concealed within those shiny objects we are begging for.
The sharp edges we can't see.
Exactly. He knows the emotional, spiritual, or even physical drain a certain path would bring to your life 5 years down the line, so he actively removes it. Sometimes subtly, sometimes very abruptly and painfully.
But let me ask you this, because this is the exact trap I think a lot of us fall into when we're trying to navigate life. How are you supposed to know the difference between a closed door that means, hey, this is divine protection, stop trying, and a temporary obstacle that simply means this is a test of your grit and patience, keep pushing?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? How do we distinguish between a roadblock and a detour? Menck addresses this beautifully through the concept of the heart's compass.
Okay, walk me through the heart's compass.
When a door is closing as a divine redirection, it rarely happens in total isolation. It is almost always accompanied by a subtle, creeping internal unease.
Like a gut feeling.
Exactly. You might logically, on paper, still want the thing. Your ego might want it. But deep down, you start losing your genuine excitement for it. You start feeling a strange heaviness in your chest when you actively move toward it or try to force it.
So your intuition is basically throwing up red flags in the background, even if your brain's logic is screaming, push forward, stick to the plan.
Yes, your soul knows the path is wrong before your brain catches up. And externally, the path just shuts down repeatedly and decisively.
It's not just a speed bump.
Right. It's not just one hurdle you can jump over or a temporary delay. It's an active, systemic removal where the path collapses despite your absolute best efforts. The transcripts note that this dual resistance, the internal heaviness, combined with external impossibilities, forces a deeply humbling realization.
Which is?
You have to stop relying on your meticulously crafted plan and start relying on the planner. The space in your life must be forcibly emptied before it can be filled with something better. You simply can't reach for something precious if your hands are already full of broken glass.
Protection disguised as disappointment. Love that. So once the wrong paths are blocked and the broken glass is dropped, your hands are empty, you're standing there, hopefully a little more patient, a little more refined, but maybe feeling a bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
This is the turning point where the right paths finally begin to reveal themselves.
Yes. Nature abhors a vacuum. When the wrong things are cleared out, the right things begin to populate that empty space. But again, it doesn't happen the way we expect. It begins with a gentle gathering of small blessings and new doors opening effortlessly.
And this leads to a fascinating insight from the deep dive. The lectures point out that small blessings begin to gather in our lives like raindrops. But the tragic part of the human experience is that most of us completely and utterly miss them.
We miss them because we are culturally conditioned to look for the grand finale.
Right.
We want the cinematic Hollywood moment where the clouds part, the triumphant music swells, and the massive, life-altering blessing drops perfectly into our lap. But Menck's insights tell us that the divine response usually begins with quiet, almost imperceptible, gentle mercies.
We're talking about incredibly small things here.
Yeah.
A random, easy solution to a minor problem at work that had been stressing you out. A surprisingly peaceful, uninterrupted night of sleep when you've been battling insomnia for weeks. Waking up for your morning prayers without feeling physically exhausted. Even just a really encouraging, out-of-the-blue conversation with a total stranger in a coffee shop that lifts your mood for the rest of the day.
We brush those off as coincidences or lucky breaks.
We totally do.
But the transcripts argue these aren't coincidences at all. They are divine nudges. They are little intimate messages saying, I am listening, the grand path is currently being prepared, and here is some nourishment for the journey.
So what does this all mean? It's like we're standing in the middle of a parched desert during a drought. We are staring so hard at the horizon, waiting for a massive, dramatic monsoon to arrive, that we completely ignore the gentle, steady raindrops that are already falling around us, slowly making the soil wet and fertile again.
That's a beautiful way to see it.
We're actually getting exactly what we need to survive, but we're upset because it doesn't look like the explosive storm we pictured in our heads.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, there is a profound psychological and spiritual wisdom to these gentle raindrops. These small stepping stones build your trust and your capacity at a highly sustainable pace.
Tell me more about that idea of a sustainable pace. Why is that important?
Well, if the grand, massive blessing arrived all at once, entirely out of nowhere, especially right after a period of intense hardship, it could be incredibly overwhelming.
It would be a shock to the system.
Exactly. It might shock your spiritual or emotional system, but these gathering raindrops, the little moments of unexpected clarity, the minor obstacles suddenly clearing, they weave together to reshape your reality gradually. They teach your heart, step by step, that there is an intricate orchestration happening behind the scenes. They rebuild your hope safely.
And that buildup leads right into the next phase, where new doors begin to open completely effortlessly. The lectures describe these moments where opportunities, new ideas, or chance encounters just slip quietly into your life without you having to aggressively chase them or network yourself to the point of exhaustion.
You don't have to break your own back to attain what is actually meant for you. That is a vital takeaway here. And quite often, if you look closely, these effortless openings are tied directly, causally, to the very doors that slammed shut in your face earlier.
That makes so much sense. It's the harsh rejection letter from your dream company that leaves you unemployed just long enough to casually start that side project, which ultimately leads to a far more fulfilling and lucrative entrepreneurial career.
Yes.
Or the relationship that fell apart horribly, forcing you to move to a new city, making space for you to meet someone who actually understands your soul. The sheer effortlessness of the new door highlights just how desperately wrong the old door was.
And we should clarify that effortlessness doesn't mean you don't have to work hard once you walk through the door.
Right, you still have to put in the work.
Exactly. It means the initial friction is gone. The heavy, grinding spiritual resistance you felt at the closed door is gone. You are now walking a path that has been pre-cleared for you.
Okay, let's look at the whole board now. We've had the internal shift and the illogical piece. We've survived the painful but absolutely necessary closed doors. We've noticed the gentle gathering of raindrops and the effortless new openings. All of this pools together into the final culmination.
The full realization of the answered dua. The exact moment the impossible softly, quietly becomes your reality.
And what's really striking in the transcripts is the emphasis that it rarely happens exactly the way you mapped it out in your journal 5 years ago.
Almost never.
It happens in the way that was actually holistically best for you. But there is a very specific, undeniable emotional marker that hits you right as this final manifestation is happening. Unprompted gratitude.
Yes. This is perhaps the most beautiful indicator. Before the blessing even fully physically manifests in its entirety, you find yourself waking up deeply thankful. You go to sleep thankful.
Just a baseline of gratitude.
Yes. The frantic, biting anxiety of the long wait has completely dissolved, replaced by this overwhelming, peaceful appreciation for the journey itself.
That reframes everything. It means the waiting period wasn't just dead time. It was a sign in and of itself. It's the ultimate filter for our own sincerity.
It truly is a filter. A person who approaches a dua purely like that transactional vending machine we talked about earlier, someone who only wants a quick, superficial fix, they will throw their hands up and give up asking after a few days or weeks of silence.
Right, they'll say, well, this doesn't work, and walk away.
Exactly. But the sincere believer, the delay actually shifts their entire focal point.
They stop obsessing entirely over the worldly result, the specific job title, the exact dollar amount, the social status, and they start focusing heavily on the deep, intimate relationship they are building with their creator in those quiet, lonely, desperate moments of asking.
This raises an important question about how we, in modern society, fundamentally define patience. We often think of patience as just sitting passively in a doctor's waiting room, reading an old magazine, twiddling our thumbs, and just agonizingly waiting for our number to be called over the loudspeaker.
Right, we view patience as passive waiting with folded hands, just enduring the clock ticking.
But true patience, according to these spiritual insights, is highly, fiercely active.
Active patience.
Yes. It is the act of keeping the dua, the hope, and the connection alive when everything in your immediate environment seems utterly, stubbornly unchanged. It is developing the spiritual maturity to look back and recognize that every single frustrating detour, every slammed door, every tear shed in confusion was actually a highly necessary brushstroke in a flawless masterpiece that you just couldn't zoom out far enough to see yet.
So effectively, the ultimate culmination isn't just about finally getting the thing you originally asked for. It's about looking in the mirror at the end of the journey and realizing you've become a completely different human being. You are now a person who has the character, the resilience, and the humility capable of holding that thing without dropping it or letting it corrupt you.
That's beautifully put.
The external blessing didn't magically fix your life. The agonizing wait changed you.
And that profound transformation of your soul is the truest answer to the prayer. The external blessing, the job, the health, the partner is really just the final ribbon tied around the magnificent gift of who you have had to become to receive it.
Okay, let's take a deep breath and recap this incredible journey we just mapped out today. If you are listening to this right now and you've been feeling the incredibly heavy, suffocating weight of an unanswered prayer, remember the progression we've talked about. The response begins on the inside with an illogical anchoring piece, that spiritual oxygen tank, and the active purification of your character.
It then inevitably moves into the physical world through fierce protection.
The closed doors.
Exactly. This looks like the painful, confusing, but absolutely vital closing of doors and the removal of harmful paths and shiny objects that you might have been desperately clinging to.
Then, the climate slowly changes. You start noticing the gentle gathering of small, quiet blessings, like raindrops breaking a drought. And eventually, new, vastly better doors begin opening with a strange effortlessness. And finally, the whole journey culminates in a deep, unprompted sense of gratitude when the impossible softly, perfectly becomes your reality.
The most important, actionable takeaway from Mink's teachings is that we desperately need to reframe how we view our delays.
Exactly. If you are currently facing a hallway of closed doors, if you are incredibly frustrated by delays that make no sense, or if you're reeling from sudden unexpected losses of things you thought you needed, you cannot view these moments as rejections. You have not been forgotten. You are not being ignored by the universe. You are being actively prepared, fiercely protected, and ultimately purposefully elevated.
Every single agonizing moment of the wait is rich with divine purpose. Nothing is wasted.
And that brings me to a final, slightly provocative thought I want to leave you with today. We spent this entire deep dive talking about how the waiting period, the silence, and the closed doors are all about preparing you for the specific blessing you've been asking for, preparing your internal character, emptying your hands of broken glass, and clearing your physical path.
Right.
But consider this angle. What if the frustrating delays and the intense trials you're experiencing right now aren't just about getting you ready to receive your own blessing? What if this intense period of refinement, this heavy character-building silence you are sitting in right now, is actually preparing you to be the living answer to someone else's dua?
Oh, wow. That completely shatters the self-centered view of prayer. It's a profound shift in perspective.
It really is. Next time you're sitting in the dark feeling the bitter frustration of a universe that won't just act like a vending machine and drop your snack, remember, you might not just be waiting for a blessing to arrive. You might be in the painful, beautiful process of transforming into one.